Hey, this is a video for a 5th edition setting and adventure called Escape from Skullcano Island. That's right, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So it's the first for me, but here we go. Pretty cool art on the cover. As you can see, a big two-headed King Kong type guy here, a kaiju fighting another big like purple worm type kaiju. So kaiju is going to be said a lot in this video, and it's going to be said a lot in this book. It's for tiers 3 through 4, which is high level. I found out for 5th edition. It's from Planet X Games. It's by Levi Combs. And it was a successful Kickstarter. It is not available on DriveThruRPG, but the website has it, their website. I'll have a link down in the description if you want to pick it up, if what I'm about to say and show you is something that might interest you. So this will be spoiling stuff that's in it. So if you're going to play it, don't watch it. I know I say that with all my videos, but I just don't want to spoil as much as I can for people that might end up playing it. So that being said, it's 134 pages roughly. There's the spine, there's the back, and a couple things right off the bat. So it's got huge monsters. It has a Lost World type island. It's got a big volcano. It's got lots of kaiju. It's got lots of giant flora and fauna in it, obviously, trying to rip your face off. It's got terrible cults and primitive tribes. And it's a real death spot. So it is obviously for higher level. And it's a sandbox adventure. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So let's get right into it. And I already tried to do this video before, but it was 30 minutes long. And that's just too long. I just keep going, and sometimes it's hard to stop. But I want to first start by saying thank you to all my new subscribers. We've had a lot lately, almost a couple a day, which I'm very appreciative of. And thanks for watching my videos. And I hope they've helped someone maybe pick something up or whatever the case may be. So let's take a look. So your table of contents here. It's got black and white art. It does have, to me, it has a very good OSR type feel to it, even though it's 5th edition. And all the 5th edition stats and stuff like that, and the stat blocks are going to be in the back of the book. So it's going to be all the stuff you need to learn about the place in the beginning and in the adventure, and all the stats are in the back. So this is going to be a Skullcano Island. What does that mean? Not really sure. Obviously, that's kind of the way it looks. So it's kind of a skull, and it's a volcano. So, and it's a huge, huge island full of kaiju. And if you don't know what those are obviously very, very huge monsters. And they like to fight each other and fight and destroy everything and stomp on stuff. So that's a little bit of a primer for you. So it says it's for 4 to 6 player characters of tiers 3 to 4. And obviously low-level characters are probably going to have some help to survive. And it tells you a little bit about what type character classes. So there's pretty much a apocalyptic doomsday cult has ushered in the end of the world. And we'll talk about a little bit about that too. So that's kind of what it's about, is these rampaging beasts and this lost world and this terrible doomsday cult. So here we go. So adventure background, telling you exactly what's kind of going on. These terrible doomsayers have showed up from across the space and dimensions and universe and stuff, and they are trying to use a very powerful magical item to bring in all these kaiju to destroy this world, and then they'll go on to another world. So they're travelers. I mean, they're not lazy, I'll give them that, but they're also shitheads. So it says here they're the Doomsayers of Krakthul, and they're attempting to exert control over the kaiju and the unique properties of Skullcano Island with the Doom Gear. And it'll explain more about that in the back. So it tells you a little bit here about that background, tells you how to kind of get started with some different little hooks that you could do, maybe a shipwrecked, or there's a bunch of signs are everywhere of like blood red skies, vermin, earthquakes, heretics roaming the land. Different ways to get the players involved in this place. Here's a bunch of rumors, some of them true, some of them false, kind of telling you about the island. Of course, a lot of people are going to have a lot of rumors about that place. And there's 2 encounters that they want you to kind of start off with to help get the players in the mood. The first is going to be the coming of the fiddler. This terrible doomsayer fiddler shows up, and people start to follow him. He's very powerful. And again, this is for higher level characters. So they are going to be obviously be able to really put out some damage and have some damage put onto them. So it is higher level. So it means to be said whether or not, I can't really tell about going up against a kaiju, how well that would balance out, but whatever. So there's the first encounter. The second one is kind of like A seer and oracle gets you alone. Maybe he's part of a king's retinue or something like that. But he wants to tell you about this island and this doom that's going to beset the world. And he has you drink from a memory draught. And you kind of have a out-of-body experience where you fly around kind of the island. And you roll up here some examples to give maybe some of the different players and their characters, whenever they drink it, what they kind of see on the island. And it tells you a little bit here about kind of what's involved in this. The grindhouse style of it, obviously the old school atmosphere, the kaiju, the ley lines. There's magical ley lines that are throughout the island that are activated. The Lost World kind of genre, and tokusatsu, meaning kind of special effects. It's primarily used to refer to live action Japanese film and television dramas that make use of special effects. And then the next page is very helpful. It says, introducing the trope mechanic in fantastic 5-color kaiju vision. These are kind of things just to kind of set the mood. So it says, like, giant monsters love to stomp things a lot. Evil is always bigger. Sometimes it's even atomic. And anytime there are 2 or more kaiju present at the same time, they fight. So it's kind of like the laws of this place. Physics don't really matter, do they? All monsters and cultists are complete and total bastards, unless otherwise noted. Skullcano Island is not a place known for its forgiving nature. Of course, everything's better with dinosaurs, and so on. So it's definitely going to get you into the mood of what the Escape from Skullcano Island is all about, with that grindhouse feel. Cool piece of art here. Again, to me, it seems very much kind of an OSR black and white look to it, the way the art is. And I know some of the artists are known for more being in the OSR, but it is a 5th edition product. So here's a word here on 5th high-level play. So it says, don't punish the players for being creative. Let it play out, because this is a sandbox, and so there's going to be a lot of player involvement in what they do. The island is a real bitch, and talks about all the environmental challenges and stuff like that. Spells are a little bit different on Skullcano Island. And it says, sorry but not sorry, don't be afraid to kill characters. And of course, that definitely reminds me of the OSR. So it says, this module is laid out in a sandbox fashion rather than traditional linear adventure. Why? But why? In short, we wanted the game master to have the freedom to determine how the characters ended up on the island. To keep characters from feeling railroaded, the entire adventure is presented in a gazetteer fashion that allows them to move around different areas of the island, exploring a vast amount of the landscape. So here's the map. It's going to go into kind of the history of what's going on with the island. And here's the map. So yes, it's kind of abstract. It's a cool map. I mean, it looks neat. I'm not sure if it's exactly extremely helpful, but that might be by design choice, because it's kind of cartoony. And I think if you're running this, you're going to have to kind of look at it and be like, well, they're kind of right about there or right about there. So it's obviously not a very tactical map, but it is cool. My only complaint is that I don't like it being here on page 14. I would rather it be either in the front or the back of the book, or in the section where it actually starts telling you about the different landscapes of the Skullcano Island. So, history of the island, the rise of the Nakatoth. I hope that's right, but I mean, with these words, you just kind of go with it, you know. And it's pretty much the civilization that used to be on the island first. And then we've got telling you about the coming of Nig, which was a very powerful dimension-traveling wizard, and what's going on in the current age. The environment and characteristics of the island, such as the laws of man mean nothing in this savage, forgotten place. So it's going to tell you, obviously, about kind of the way that magic works with it, different kind of conjuration, how that is different here, teleportation and divination magics. And so, yeah, it's going to tell you that, you know, a lot of it is going to be jungle, it's going to be overgrown, it's going to be prehistoric, tangled vegetation, huge vegetation, huge animals, huge creatures trying to kill you and eat you, much like this poor soul here. And we continue on. What is a kaiju exactly? It's going to explain a bit about that. All the kaiju have their cults and kind of their place in this larger world that's going on here on the island. And this is a cool little area here where it talks about the different signs of a kaiju. Maybe they've just been by or they're close by. A couple of things here to kind of get you knowing that, whoops, one might be close and you better either hide for it or get ready for a fight. So again, some cool art there. And then it's going to go into the kaiju and their cults. So this is the way that all the kaiju kind of sections are done. So it has their current status, whether or not they're kind of maybe like, you know, are they active right now? Are they sleeping? Whatever the deal is. The description, their origin, their lair, and then their cult, and then some plot hooks to involve them. The Black Doom is the first one. It's pretty much a huge black ooze that's of kaiju size. Here's Gallo Maw, the serpent of end days. So he is in torpor, not yet in hibernation, but only awake for fits of feeding. So I wanted to see which ones were still active to try to pit them against each other, or, have, with characters, sitting there watching them fight, or trying to get out of the way of their fight because they'll probably get smashed. So again, not a very huge cult involved there, but you can see it's all laid out the same for each one. So I'm just going to kind of go quickly here through the different ones. Gouge Eye the Devastator, you're not going to believe your eye. He's awake and active, and his cultists are they're native jungle folk who worship him. They're the most violent and wicked on the island, so very fierce, and a cool one, obviously, and it's active, so that's good. And then different plot hooks. And he might go up against Grolok, the god ape. He's also active in roaming its territory, so it seems like those are fated to kind of fight against each other. A lot more information on him, bit on his tactics, and he's got a very cool cult, which are a bunch of degenerates, of course. But, and they hang around with a bunch of giant apes. So there's that. And there's Clickety Clack, Terror from the Deep. I hope that's the way it's said, but I'm going with it. This is a huge crab-type kaiju. It's awake and active, but it's a little bit smaller, so sometimes it hides in the water. But I like it. It looks pretty cool, pretty nasty. And it has a very detailed section here on a little bit more so than on its cult. And it's not exactly a cult as much as it is like shipwrecked folk and stuff like that worship Clickety Clack. And of course the plot hooks. Now here's Melmoth the Ghost Spider. It's pretty much, it says it's the smallest of them, and it kind of can go in between kind of dimensions in two worlds. The one thing that's kind of a little bit disappointing is that there's no real art for it. There is art for the cultist, and that's cool. And so a big section here on the cultist, because obviously it probably deals more, the cult probably does more shenanigans than the kaiju does. Here's Three Jaws, the jaws of the earth, asleep after gorging wildly. It is the worst features of a massive armadillo and a giant snapping turtle. So that's pretty nasty. And of course it likes to eat and gorge itself. And it's got a pretty cool cult as well. And they like to live underground or in subsurface layers. They seldom come out at day. They do most of their stuff at night as they're sensitive to the light. Umagug, the worm that waits. It is asleep beneath the mire of worms. And pretty nasty thing you can see on the cover of the book. And again, a large cult of women, the Worm Wives. Very cool. And I like that one a lot. Here's the Doomsayers of Krak-Thul. These are the turds that are bringing and ushering in the end of the world. They move from dimension, they're from another dimension, and they pretty much they worship destruction of worlds. They want to bring upon the apocalypse. And I'll explain a little bit more about that here in a second. But that's them, and they're obviously kind of the main enemy in this adventure. So, because it shows you about how to roleplay them, there's different ones of them, like a different kind of hierarchy that they have with their different names. And then here's the Doom Gear. So this comes from Hell, and it's a huge, pretty much, gear that they use to usher in the end of the end of the world. It's going to pretty much open up ways for other kaiju from other dimensions to show up, or other worlds to show up to this world and destroy it. And that's what they want to do. And it's a very powerful artifact. And then we have more about them. What have the Doomsayers of Krak-Thul been up to accomplished so far? Calling the kaiju, what happens when the Doomsayers summon a titanic rampaging monster of myth to do their biddings. So it explains a little bit about that. And then here's a good wandering monster list here. And of course, a lot of stuff's going to be giant frogs, giant bats, giant spiders, giant leeches. And it goes on, and some of them being T-Rexes and other dinos that you can do dino damage to, should you roll good on your attack roll. And then this is the place, the map I think should be right here. I think that would be better placed. So you may want to put like a bookmark or something where it is. Not that I'm saying that map is extremely helpful in exactly pinpointing your location of where the players are. So, and you're going to have to kind of look at these, read these descriptions, look at the pictures, and then look at the map and say, I think that's kind of what that is right there. The Cove of Mists, Jaws and Claws, Wandering Monster Table, of course, lots of giant crabs, giant oyster bed, reef sharks, giant sea turtles, kraken, your common everyday kraken that shows up, and some other places. The Black Oracle of Thuln, this huge large thing here. Don't sleep underneath it or it'll mess up your dreams. Cool names, obviously very much fitting with the Lost World motif. The Bay of Bones, the Valley of Claws, the Bleach Lands, the Cave Pains of Naktoth, the Mire of Worms. That's where that one kaiju is. The remains of Urthrak the Terrible. This was a huge ancient kaiju that was killed, and it was, spoiler, it was actually killed by the volcano that pretty much ripped its body, like its insides out of its body. And it's dead, and now it's laying there. So it'd be cool to have like a big picture, maybe a big piece of art showing it on the ground, or what exactly the deal is with it. But here's a cool thing here. If you eat, if like animals or something, giant wasps have chewed on this body and this huge kaiju body and gotten different powers from it. So another different type of isometric map here. As you can see, that's kind of the theme here with it. Because here is Nig the Crumbling Tower. This is the sorcerer, his observatory and laboratory of Nig. And it's a little bit of a small dungeon crawl going through this place. You can see it ends up going through here and the Cavern of the Kaiju, where Cathug Maul, the Titan in Irons, awaits. And, you can obviously it's going to tell you a lot more about it whenever you read the book. Here's the mountain layer of Hukrus, and this is a huge Cyclops. Of course, I love the old Sinbad movies and Ray Harryhausen, so this definitely, I enjoy this, seeing a big Cyclops who's running amok. Now, this is a very cool section here. Ruins of the Mecha Kaiju. This is kind of like another little mini dungeon here. So some aliens or something from another planet decided to fight the kaiju. They created the Mecha Kaiju. It came to Earth and it got its ass kicked. Well, whatever this world is, it got its ass kicked. And so here's the remnants of its body. There's a hole over here, you can see in the art, where you go into where the arm meets the shoulder. And this is a whole mini campaign, a mini dungeon where you can see, what the environment is inside and explore the insides of this Mecha Kaiju. Something I think is very, very cool. Lots of creatures have layered in here now, and it's quite large in size. Again, you can see that type of map inside the Mecha Brain. A lot of more, random table rolls. So that's the size of a normal person, and these are the size of the gears of whoever these aliens were that created this thing. So you can see their ginormous size. So yeah, a very cool section there to go inside that Mecha Kaiju. The landlocked ruins of Telshara's Wink, and the pulsating egg of the monster from Planet X, obviously the name of the company who made this. More places here, the Black Lake of the Devil Mudmen, and then the Sentinels of Vito Boars. Of course, this is an homage to Zardoz. Great flick. Highly recommend anybody watch it. It's awesome. This thing is very much kind of like, the big head in Zardoz. It doesn't do exactly the same powers, but there is a way possibly for the player characters to be able to get in there and control it. It can be anywhere all over the island as the game master sees fit. So very cool. I love that homage to it. A great piece of art. And then here's the place beyond the veil. And you're going to have that cavern where that big black doom is. Here's additional random areas on Skullcano Island. Some of these are more like encounters. One of them is another kaiju, pretty much a massive 12-headed hydra. I guess it would be a kaiju. I mean, anything big on the creature-wise, I would probably call it a kaiju here. But some of these are like these Skullcano axe beak stampedes or attack of the lava leeches. So they're a little bit more like just kind of encounters, but still pretty cool. Treacherous jungle bridge. And there's that big 12-headed hydra. Here's some things that you may come across on Skullcano Island. Again, another great table here to roll on. And then we finally have the Skullcano itself. So obviously, it's going to tell you about encounters inside of it. Volcanic swarms, thin crust, death from above, tremors. And it's going to have all the different type of features. Smoke, lava, and how that might affect your characters with saving throws and stuff like that. Fissures and steam vents. Tremors. And it's going to have this, it's got this cool piece here for the art of the Skullcano. And then obviously you're setting up to fight these doomsayers to stop them from ushering in the end of the world. And so it's going to have couple other areas here, like the Grotto of the Fire Ropers. That's pretty cool. The Inner Volcano and the Doom Gear, and the Doomsayers, how they fight you and what their tactics are. And you're going to face off against all those kind of named Doomsayers to stop them from destroying the world. And then here it has at the end, aftermath, and wrapping up the adventure. It pretty much says you're big heroes if you save the world, or the world gets destroyed. And the Doomsayers of Crackthul, pretty much they observe wordlessly, eventually moving on to see 1,000 more worlds destroyed. The end has come. And now we have our huge section here on the stat-related stuff. So new spells, I believe they're new spells for 5th edition. Some more art, lots of spells here. Magical items, including the Doom gear, the fiddle from the Doomsayer, other things that are obviously listed in the book. Here's all their stats for them. So they've got them all on the back, which is fun, and that's helpful just to be able to read and then go and find all the stuff here. Here's the Bestiary, 5th edition Bestiary. You can see those stat blocks for, you know, for me, I've played some 5th edition. I've played mostly a lot of OSR games and older D&D, and these stat blocks to me just look huge. But probably pretty normal to everybody that's playing 5th edition. So all the creatures and stuff you might find on the island, there's a lot of it here. Giant praying mantis, giant poisonous frog, giant saber-toothed tiger, and then some more of the Grand Doomsayers of the place here with their stats and the different ones, the different chieftains of the different cults as we continue right along. So we're going to speed this up and get to the section here. As you can see, it's a good bit of section. And finally here we come to the actual Kaiju. So that's all from the Black Doom. Here's all for Gallumal with their legendary actions. So you can see there they all laid out. And I think it's a good selection of Kaiju, and you can obviously make up your own, but I think the selection they've given you is varied and very good. And then a cool little sketchbook here showing you and telling you a little bit about how they came up with some of the art. So cool little section here. This was a Kickstarter, and it was successful, obviously, and here it is. So cool little insight into some of the art pieces in their various stages of completion. And then at the end here, influences, books, comic books, killer movies such as King Kong, Godzilla. It says King Kong, every single one of them. Beasts from 20,000 Fathoms, Destroy All Monsters, Zardoz, of course. A lot of heavy metal music to kind of sounds to obliterate the world to, and then RPGs such as the Owl of Dread. Love this. This is a fun little thing here. Used to love these in comics in the back to send off whatever to get these crazy items. So a lot of this is very fun in a role-playing game sense, and a nice little addition here to the back of the book that I thoroughly enjoyed, as well as this funny comic here, The Insult That Made a Man Out of Throngor. And here we finish off with a Skullcano themed character sheet. So there it is. So yeah, it's Sandbox, so you're going to have to do a lot of work as a dungeon master. But if you're already at this tier 3 and 4, you've probably got a lot of adventures under your belt. You should have tons, actually, and this should be pretty easy for you, but definitely not for someone who's kind of new to D&D, any edition, really, and 5th edition, obviously, as some stuff can get quite complicated, I believe, probably at the later levels. But should be able to give a lot of higher level characters a lot of good run for their money, and should have a lot of fun if you like that type of King Kong, Godzilla, Land of the Lost type feel to it. I think that you'll really enjoy it. As you can see, it's got a lot of stuff going for it. I said my only real complaint about it is just the placement of that map. I wish it was someplace different. But again, the map is not extremely fantastic tactically, but it's still pretty cool. So I just like to have it. You might, like I said, you might want to do like a bookmark. So there we go. I'll have the link down in the description if you want to check it out. It's not on Drive-Thru RPG, but you can link to the site and check it out if you want to get it. I'm certain they've got the PDF there too available. I believe they do. But I appreciate everybody, all the new subscribers. Past 700 subscribers is just incredible. Again, I thank you very much for watching. If this has helped anybody, I'd love to know about it or any of my videos, or if you have any other ideas about how to make it better. So I appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.